Hello, everyone. We are ready to call the April work session to order. Superintendent Hooker, would you like to do roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley, Ms. Claudia Butts, Ms. Linda Davis,
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager,
Here.
Mr. Tim Denson,
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson,
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant,
Here.
Ms. Nicole Hull, and Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, thank you so much. We will move on to, sorry, I am in the wrong meeting. Let me go to the work session, excuse me. Okay, we will move on to the board president report. I do not have very many items, so this should go pretty quick. Just real quick, we had, I know you all are very familiar with this, but we had the Board Advisory Council. That was a mandate, not a mandate, but something that we did, you know, just to sort of get under the, get out of the COGNY accreditation review. After several discussions as a board, we felt like the best way to move forward would be to engage with the community more rather than just have a small group of constituents that we met with regularly. And so we decided that we were going to continue with the advisory council for the remainder of the year, but then transition to having listening sessions throughout our districts throughout a school year every year. And I feel like we all remember this, but if there's someone who needs some clarity, please feel free to speak up. And so what we are proposing, I don't know if you saw the emails, but we're proposing that we cancel the Board Advisory Council that was scheduled for this week and transition to, in the 24-25 school year, the listening sessions that we will have throughout the district with Dr. Hooker, the board district representative for each district, and a facilitator. And what I would like to do, and hopefully you all support this, is schedule those meetings to happen for the 2024-25 school year before the end of this school year, so that we can begin to make those announcements for those meetings and the community knows when they're happening well in advance. And so if you all are okay with that, then that's how we will move forward. So by June, the end of May, Ms. Palmer and Dr. Hooker will reach out to each one of us, and we'll go ahead and schedule the time that we will have our own district's listening session for the 2024-25 school year. Are there any questions? Ms. Davis?
Right. So for the listening sessions, are we looking at planned agendas, or what are we listening for? Do we have some specific thing that we're trying to address? I know we just want to have more community engagement. I get that part. Do we have a format in mind already, or?
Yeah, and you know, anyone feel free to chime in based on our conversations. But yeah, the plan was to get with a facilitator, and prior to the meetings, have a short agenda in mind of what we wanted our community members to give us input on. And things could be possibly based on upcoming agenda items or larger issues that are permeating throughout the community in that particular time. And that facilitator would be there to sort of help the community engage with the board member and the superintendent. But the intention of those sessions was not for the board members to respond to the community members' input, but to just sort of listen, engage, and make sure that we understood where our district sort of lands on particular issues. But yes, the short answer is that there is an intention of having a short agenda for each of those meetings, so that it's not just kind of like this open, free-for-all, speak your mind.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Yeager?
Just a clarification, is it one board member at a time with Dr. Hooker, or is it multiple ones? What's the idea that we'll rotate around?
Yeah, I think the intention was that once a month, one of us would have a listening session in our district, And so because there are about 9 months in the school year and there are 9 of us, that at least one of us would touch our district at some point during that school year. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have more if you would like to and communicate with Dr. Hooker that you'd like more, but the intention was that we would at least have one every school year in each of our districts to have that communication.
To the advisory board, just so they don't feel that, you know, we just started something and stopped it. So not just that we're going to be discontinuing it, but, you know, like thanking them and just sort of giving them the context and perspective and rationale that we're moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point, Dr. Gant. Thank you for mentioning that. I think what I may do then, and other members are welcome to join along, but I may go ahead and just meet with the 2 members of the committee who did RSVP for this week's event. I may just open up the floor for them to meet with me and other members if you all would like to, just to kind of discuss that context that you're talking about, and also to just be respectful of their time that they did RSVP for this meeting. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you would consider, like, even if there are ones that may not be able to be there, but some type of communication from the district or the board even, you know, just so it does not fall in that category where the circle of communication, you know, there's that gap there. So at least they know we started it, you know, we are appreciative, and that this is the route we're moving.
Yes, thank you. That is a wonderful idea. Other ideas or thoughts or comments on that? Okay. The last item is the board manual that we discussed at our March retreat. Dr. Evans was so gracious with his time, and he pulled the policies that we talked about, moving from a policy to the board manual, created that document, and then, you know, we just kind of polished it up and made it a formal board document that should be accessible for you guys in the Google Drive. So if you would take the next month as the community reviews and has the opportunity to provide feedback on the board policies that we will discuss at today's session. While that's happening in tandem, we all can also be reviewing the board manual for, you know, any edits, any proofreading, any recommended changes, et cetera, at the same time. So those 2 or the board manual as well as the rescinded policies can happen at the same time, and the community is more, I think, aware of the justification of moving the policies to a board manual. So make sure that you review that board manual, and if you have any feedback, let us know. And last but not least, yes, Ms. Davis?
So I'm either having a really bad hearing day, but most of the words that you're saying are being muffled by the time I'm getting them. So I don't know how we get past that. But so I'm not understanding a lot of what the words that you're saying about the policy manual. I know that, thank you for sending it to me, because that one is very different from the one that Dr. Evans sent to me. And yet I feel like I would love for us to have more conversation about that document. It's not just it is the B policies, and it does have the duties of the board and the duties of the superintendent. But I would also like for that document to carry the citations of the laws that govern our existence as a district and our roles as elected officials as a part of that discussion. And so I'm not sure where we are, or the last thing I heard you say was this and the rescinding the policies, and that statement wasn't clearly understood by me. So,
Go ahead.
Is there a timeline that we're looking at for doing this?
Okay, so I can clarify. The first part I think you said is that you are not sure about the rescinding policies that I mentioned, right? So when we had our March retreat, we reviewed the B policies and a few C policies, all related to our initial discussion on reviewing policies that directly related to our strategic plan, but also reviewing policies that related to board governance. So when Ms. Palm came and we had our March retreat, and we talked about the B policies and a couple of those C policies, it was unanimously decided, perhaps one or two board members did not agree with this, but the larger board did decide to move some of the policies that were more related to the how we govern ourselves and our relationship with the superintendent away from policies and into a board manual. And that board manual would sit in the website under the BOE tag, but it would also be implemented into the regulations within our B policies as well. I can't remember which specific policy, but it would also be a reg in one of our B policies. So that was how we ended the conversation in the March meeting. So when we were meeting and having that conversation about the B policies, rescinding the policies that would then be in the board manual is now up for conversation, because the rescission of those policies will go to the community for community input, and then at next month's meeting, we will vote on them. So it hasn't been voted on that we will rescind those policies and put it in a board manual at this point, but the board has decided that they would like to move forward in moving some of those policies to a board manual.
That's much clearer, thank you.
Yes, no problem.
And I don't understand why, because you use the same tone, right? Okay, all right, thank you.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying I don't understand why I could hear that so much clearer than the first time.
Oh, I moved the mic up, so I
Thank
think
you.
it's just louder. Yeah. Yeah.
Stop it.
And it's a big room, so the sounds kind of echo and vibrate, so I apologize for that.
So then I would also ask, as we look at creating a board manual, is that what we're calling it? I've heard from so many people that have come on this board that it takes 2 or 3 years for them to understand what the work of the board is. I would like for us to have a review of that document to make sure that it contains the information that would be beneficial to new board members, because we will experience this again in January. And so to have the feedback from people who have spent these last 3 or 4 years understanding this work, I think it would be very valuable. I would hate for us to put the work into creating a manual that doesn't address the needs of the people that it serves.
Absolutely. It's in the Google Drive, and everyone has access to it. I just took the initial pulling the PDFs out and putting them in and making it look like a document instead of the gibberish. So, you know, I mean, I think this is something that we all should work on, because, you know, we're all doing the job. And one of these days, someone else is going to have to step in for us at some point. And so, yeah, I think it's important that we do that. Dr. Yeager?
I was just going to say, I haven't been able to see the document. I've requested access, but I haven't tried to go in through the Google Drive. I've just tried to go
still
in through
can't
the
get
link in the board.
Yeah, same.
Report
I
and
don't-
Same here, can't get it.
Can't get to it.
Okay.
We'll share it with you on Friday. We'll work through,
I'm
we'll
doing
get
it now.
ownership to you, to Ms. Palmer, and we'll ensure that every board member has it by noon on tomorrow. We'll work with Dr. Anderson and shift ownership to us, and we'll ensure that everyone gets it by tomorrow noon, okay?
So
Yeah.
when I have, if I may, when I have that problem and it says request access, where does that request go?
It goes to the owner of the document.
Okay, thank you.
And I think what may have happened, and I apologize for that, is I did not realize that when I add the BOE for access, that it does not create individual access. So I think what may have happened is I have to enter everybody's individual email, and I am happy to do that, and it will get
Oh,
done
no
today.
worries. Okay.
But yes, the document was shared out, but I think it was just an administrative error for why you can't access it. So we'll make sure you get that
That
access.
makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay.
But it duplicates all of the B policies that we talked about in the March meeting, so it shouldn't be a surprise. It's just formatted as a document.
Oh, no, and yeah, reading it, I did get I got it this afternoon about 3 something, so I did get a chance to read it. And of course, it reads well now that it's all nicely formatted, so we still have more work to do. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else? Okay, and then last but not least, we have a ton of events coming up. Wonderfully, it's almost the end of the school year, so there's a lot of celebrations to be had, a lot of meetings and, you know, dinners and things. So I encourage all of us as board members to represent our districts at these various events, and if you can, and when you can, please attend our year-end celebrations. And that is it for me for the President's report. Yes, we will move forward to the presentation and discussion of the FY23 audit.
We'll ask our CFO, Mr. Chris Griner, to come forth with a presentation or an overview.
All right, we good? Microphones and I do not typically get along well. You should have received a few weeks ago from the Georgia Department of Audits and Accounts our most recent financial statement audit, which was for, excuse me, fiscal year 2023, as well as our SPLOST audit for FY 2023 as well. So just kind of wanted to go over a few items in there. We did receive on our financial statement audit an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion you can receive on your financial statements. So that was very good news. As part of that audit, they audit our federal programs. They typically select 2 or 3 different programs. They picked Early Head Start, Special Education, and our ARPA funds this year. Unfortunately, we did have a finding with our federal programs this year on our ARPA money. Toward the end of fiscal year 2022, 2 previous executives decided to budget in ARPA, transferring some expenditures from our after-school program in fiscal year 2023, which is allowed as long as there's a loss in the after-school program and you're only transferring the amount of expenditures that created that loss. Unfortunately, too much was transferred over. Just kind of a misinterpretation of the guidance on that. I think there was some conversations with the Department of Education back then, and there wasn't a clear, so again, it's just one of those decisions that was made, unfortunately. It was not part of the budget for FY24, fortunately. So that finding will completely go away at FY24. We've already confirmed that with the Department of Audits and Accounts. No transfers have been made this year. I will say the money that was retained in the after-school program was distributed to each one of our elementary schools that participate in that program on an equitable basis based on enrollment. So it wasn't kept here at the district in fund balance. It did get distributed out, which is one of the conversations I have with the Department of Audits, but again, it's federal guidance, and there was, I thought that might alleviate, that decision that was made, but we did not win that conversation, so it is a finding. So, and that's really it with the financial statement audit. For our SPLOST audit, there were no findings. I think, Mr. Gilbert, how many years in a row? So we had a great audit there, as expected. But again, in FY24, this will not be a repeat finding. A lot of times what happens with an audit finding, because the audit started in December, it didn't finish till March, we would have already continued that same practice into the new fiscal year. So in this case, we're very fortunate that we didn't do that. So typically you have repeat findings. We will not have a repeat finding. So I'll be happy to answer any, sorry, this has got a little feedback, any questions y'all might have. I don't think we had to have a formal vote on the audit. I think it was just for present, just as a presentation. So.
Move on to financial report.
Okay. All right. You have before you the financials as of February. Hard to believe we're actually 10 months into the year now, but this was as of eight months into our fiscal year. Actual revenue still trending well. Still getting collections on our tax digest, running between $1 to $2 million a month right now. So we'll definitely hit. I think we're about $4 million short of budget right now, but I feel like confidently we'll take that in. I think we had close to $1.5 million in March, so we're getting close to that. Our tax commissioner does an excellent job collecting. So about 7.5 million for revenues over, again, that's just timing differences. Some of that will clear out in June. Actual expenditure is about 3.2, again, timing differences. I really feel like fund balance, we're at 87.3 million. I feel like we're gonna end the year either with either gonna break even or have a slight increase in fund balance. So we should end up, when we do the budget presentation next Tuesday, you'll see I projected about 55 million in fund balance. I think we ended the year started the year at 54.3 million. So should trend down to that level. I'll be happy. That's really what any questions I'll be glad to answer today.
So I'm sorry, I did have an SPLOST question. I hope it's a simple question. There is an identification of SPLOST employees. Does that mean that the salaries for those employees come out of SPLOST and not the general fund?
Yes, ma'am. We have currently, since we have 2.5 employees that are in our SPLOST department, and those are funded from SPLOST funds, which is allowable under SPLOST. As long as their main function is within SPLOST, that is allowable.
But they are our Clark County School District employees.
That is correct.
Excellent, thank you.
I think that's been the case. I do what I was hearing from you, we were doing that as well. You could also, if they were splitting their time between other functions, you could just allocate part of it, you could allocate it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I have a quick question, and it's going to be more like an exploration question and not, this might not even be the appropriate venue to have this. Anyway, I'm going to ask it. So when Dr. Evans and I were at a recent meeting for board presidents and vice presidents, something that continuously came up was that during the legislative sessions, our legislators look at all of the school district fund balances, and they tend to then start to skew at this sort of, I say, false reality that school districts are flushed with cash around that time of year that the legislative session is happening. Is there a way that school districts, Clark County included, can not have a 40% fund balance during legislative sessions, because when those decisions are being made that guide policies for school districts moving forward, they're being made before our money gets spent down? How do we stop that from being a decision-making factor for our state legislators?
Unfortunately, it's it's conversations we have with the legislators. Every school district falls into that same, as you mentioned, Dr. Anderson, because of roughly our revenue splits about 60-40, maybe 55-45 property taxes versus community funding from the state. So we get the bulk of that property tax money in October, November, December. So it's all sitting there in January, like you mentioned, during the legislative session. It's really just the timing of those revenues. We're fortunate in Clark. Some districts actually don't have tax bills due to December, still running December. December 20th, Clark County, we're October. So it's good that we have the fund that we need to start to low in September. It's also good. It's really just conversations with the legislative body, and I know it's all part of it. There's really no way that it's every district I've been in, it's been out of January, you're always sitting with large fund balance. And then another thing I think they get confused on is what actually is fund balance, because there's certain, I mean, you look at our fund balance, we have the general fund, we have special revenue funds, most of the federal programs, and you have capital project funds. A lot of times they lump all that together as well. So they're looking at, we're still spending our SPLOST money, so we have a large fund balance right now. We get a bond issue, we have cash sitting in investment right now, but that money will be spent down, especially if we build part of the school, or finish out part of the school, but and other projects, Cedar Shoals, but yeah, I think they need to be on what's included.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I wish I had a better answer.
No, I appreciate you going down that road with me, and I realize and recognize that that was probably, this is not the appropriate space to have that conversation, but thank you for explaining that. It may be helpful for the public. Okay. Dr. Yeager?
I just have a quick question. If it would be too much trouble to add to the, I really like having the vendors and the expenses over $10,000, but it doesn't really say what it's for. Is there any way to add information about what it was for? I mean, sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not. It would be helpful. Like, I mean, there's just a few that are like, why are we paying UGA $90,000? Yeah, but, I mean, so, okay, say, if I had, half a line that said what it was, I'd thank you. Appreciate it, as long as it's not too much trouble. Thank you.
So that triggered another question then. So is that a spreadsheet that's coming from? Uh-huh. Or a CSV kind of document? Okay, excellent.
So you have different, there's probably 100 different experiences, including there's always a order. I'm not sure the one that runs this one, but there are other options.
Super.
All right, any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, we will move forward to item number 6, our facilities updates.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert, for coming forward for this presentation.
Good evening. Couple of quick updates. Clark Middle is progressing nicely. We, like I said, we have permanent power installed in the building. The contractor is paving the lower parking area and the fire lane access up top. And I believe, Lisa, we have some photos you could show for Clark Middle. Interior finishes are going in, carpets going in, ceiling tile, light fixtures. So we're making good progress on Clark Middle. I think we got a few pics here we can show you as well. There we go. I sent these in last minute, so I apologize. They're probably not formatted properly, so it's not Ms. Palmer, it's my technology part, so. We have May 1st, we have a walkthrough with the up-and-coming 6th graders for Clark Middle. So we have tours starting at 5 o'clock. We're going to do kind of a limited first floor tour through the cafeteria down the main hallway. You all are welcome to attend if you'd like to be part of that. We've worked with the teachers and staff at Clark Middle to where I think there's been an email gone out to the parents that the May 17th will be their last day in class, and they'll be doing asynchronous learning on Monday, the 20th, 21st, and 22nd of the following week. And they have packets they'll be taking home. That gives us a jump on taking the modulars, particularly the 8th grade modular unit, out of the parking area, which facilitates the contractor getting a head start on the work that's required for that area. We're almost to the pictures. They're probably such great quality and so large that they take too long to load. But I didn't know if you had any particular questions for Clark Middle on the update or anything that we've got going on there.
Any questions?
Almost to the picture. So close. What's that?
Was that the Clark Middle presentation?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We're just trying to give you some up-to-date photos of our progress and what we've got going on.
There
I
it
get to see
is.
it frequently, yeah.
So this is an aerial shot, and it shows, like I said, we're paving on the fire drive on the back side of the school. To the right on the photo, you see the cafeteria patio area has been poured, ready to go. Alicia, if you go to the next picture. Again, it's kind of just rotating around, same shot. All right, and then here you can see the soccer field has been prepped, is on grade. The bleachers have been installed. The pad for their little concession area has been poured, and irrigation is installed. We're getting ready to lay sod on that field. This is the little art area with their patio that they have on the 3-story.
Is that recessed, that section?
It's a tiered, yeah, that part's recessed at the lower level, and they've
Right.
got tiers outside that they can
Okay.
go out and sit on.
Okay.
It'll have artificial turf on the seating areas, so they'll be able to use it kind of rain or shine.
Great.
Again, you can see curb and gutters going on the lower portion, and they're actually, now they've paved those areas as well. Keep going. I think we may have a couple. All right, so here's the new pavement that's going in. These are some updated photos. So again, it kind of shows you they're getting the binder coat down. You can see in the classrooms, we've got carpeting going in, finished paint, light fixtures, ceiling. So like I said, we're making good progress on the 3-story building on the finishes. Epoxy floors are going in the restrooms and also in the storage rooms as well. That's our media center. Final finishes going in there in the front entrance. And these were probably about a week ago that we took these pictures, so we're further along. Any questions on Clark Middle?
Yes, so it's a 3-story building, right?
Correct.
Who's on which floors?
So I believe, and I've got too many buildings in my head, but I think 8th grade's on the top level, or 6th grade, then 7th grade's in the middle, and I believe the 8th graders, it's either 8th or 6th are on the lower level. So I think 6th grade's up top, then 7, then 8's on the bottom floor. And connections are spread on the right wing on all 3 levels.
And so everybody goes to the same cafeteria, they still have the shared same common spaces. And is the only access to that common space stairwells, or are there some innovative things like slides that?
Yeah, we don't have slides.
Oh, darn.
We have an elevator. There are, I believe, 3 to 4 different separate stairwells. So there's ample access and the ability for the different groups and areas to move kind of independent of each other.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then also on Cedar Shoals, I don't have any picks for Cedar, but we are progressing on Cedar with the interior demolition on the first phase. Finishes are going back on our lower level. We had a staff meeting yesterday with the teachers to go over the summer phasing. Pretty much all teachers are going to have to pack up their classrooms because we're going to be moving people all amongst the building at the end, August 1st. So the goal would be to have 3 of the classroom areas done and turned back over, and then we're working on the 4th area in the fall, and then we'll get new furniture to come in over Christmas break so that all the classrooms at that point will be finished, everybody moving to their final spots, which allows us to move to the other outlying buildings and finish those as well. And I think there's maybe some pics of the loading dock at ELC East. We had some repairs going on there, and that work's ongoing, installing some bollards, as well as making a new extension on the loading dock to where the trucks can back up properly, and that should be done next week and then turned back over to them.
Dr. Yeager?
Can I ask a quick question about Cedar?
Yeah.
So you're going to there will always be one grade that's in the temporary
Up until Christmas of next year.
of Christmas of next year. And is it going to be the 9th graders the whole time?
Yeah, 9th grade is staying outside. We're moving everybody else inside the building. That was
And so they'll be in 10th grade in those same buildings, or will it be the new 9th graders that go into the
new 9th graders into the trailers.
trailers? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? SPLOST monthly report and facilities update. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Yep.
All right, we will move forward. Oh.
No, we just did SPLOST. It's now facilities update
Oh,
with Mr.
I'm so sorry.
No, you good.
Facilities update.
With Mr. Mark Bailey.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening. Tonight's presentation is kind of going to be about what we've done this year. There's a lot of things we've gotten done. We're finally capable of getting this to an end. All these projects have finally come to an end.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bailey, could you speak into the microphone, please?
Yes. Some of the new equipment we've gotten taken care of this year is a new playground. This one is particularly at Gaines Elementary School. Gaines, if you remember earlier in the year, we reported about a turf field. There's a 100 by 50-foot field out there for soccer. If you have a chance, please swing by that school and take a look at that playground. It is absolutely gorgeous. We have also completed the installation of 6 ADA playgrounds throughout the district. I just happened to be at Gaines as this one was going in, so I got some pictures of it. It looks totally different. This is the ADA equipment that we put up at Holston. This is another set of equipment that we put in at Fowler Drive. I got this from the principal. She was overly excited to have the new swing set. Had to send me a picture of the children out enjoying it. Timothy Road Elementary School, if you remember, was our first big playground. It's got the pour-in-place surface, etc. We were really excited to have that one get installed. It's a beautiful playground also, so if you don't go to Gaines, please go to Timothy. They have all of their ADA playground equipment incorporated at that site. Some of the conversions we've done this year, I know we've talked about LED conversions, we've talked about incorporating technology, but also some of the programs we took care of this summer was the gym floor, the very first picture up there. All of our elementary schools got the gym floors. They're now a rubber kind of a safety floor. So if you trip and fall, hopefully you won't bang yourself too hard. As we did the floors, we went back and did the lights where we could do the lights. The next picture is the Clark Central weight room. We did that, and I say we as in our staff at Plant Services took care of the installation and operation of those lights. Over at the far right corner of that slide, you'll see the Clark Central Cafe. That was a partnership with Georgia Power. And then the very bottom picture is Hillsman Middle School. Plant Services did the LED upgrades on the outside of that facility and actually had to increase some lights. The little glow back in the back of that picture is the gym. Transportation, you've seen this slide before, except this time I have some black ductile iron pipe running over there for the gas lines. So that job, last time I reported to you, was incomplete. The air conditioning worked great, but they still had a few more days of cold. So now the heat circuit is hooked up, so they are now 100%. Holston Elementary School, I reported we had ordered this unit way back in the month of November, and it finally came in. I had to get a picture of it off the back of the pickup truck because it was just that new and we were on deadlines to get this stuff submitted, so I'm sorry it's not from the rooftop, but that's our new unit and that's going on over classroom B9 at Holston. The upcoming projects for the summer, we're going to be working with SPLOST as we do the cooling tower replacement at Central. Berks has got 2 major RTU replacements that'll be happening. Classic City is the same, and then Gaines and Holston RTU replacements. We will have a very busy summer assisting. We'll have control work to do as far as shutting things down so we don't short them out. I'm sure these guys will be running. We also hold the keys to not only the disconnects but the main feeds, and we'll probably go in and shut them down so everybody gets in and out safely. And then once these units do get installed and they get turned over to us, we'll go through the controls again and make sure that they function in both heat and cool, and make sure that we can see them on our building automation system. Any questions?
Are these natural gas or are they electric?
Natural gas.
Okay, thank you.
I do thank you for your support this year.
Thank you.
Mr. Denson?
Just a question, are there Do we have any other elementary schools scheduled to receive playgrounds over the next few months, or is this all the ones that are going to receive them before next school year?
I think we are ready to have that conversation.
Okay.
I think we need to go ahead and set our sights on doing some more, because we've got opportunity out there.
Okay, yeah, agreed. And definitely getting some questions about, from some of the parents of schools that aren't getting the brand new ones. I understand it's a cycle, but yeah, so,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Bailey. That wraps up our facilities update, and we will move forward to agenda item number 7, business items for discussion. And Ms. Palmer, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are items for consideration for the consent agenda, correct? Okay. Thank you. Okay. Item A, Ag Science and Graphic Arts Program furniture purchase for Cedar Shoals renovation. Any objections? All right. Classic City Health Clinic construction. Questions or objections from consent? Mr. Denson?
Thank you, Madam President. I have received some concerns from some staff and advocates for Classic City, just concerned about taking up what they see as some of quite a bit of classroom space with this construction. And not to say that this is not obviously a fantastic use of resources, but I guess the question to the superintendent, has that been addressed at all about taking up some of these classrooms on the upper floor? And how does this tie into the use of Rutland and moving over the alternative school to open up space?
I'll have Mr. Gilbert speak to that, but I do want to share with you, we did have conversations with the previous principal concerning the moving of the health clinic so they had buy-in into this. And Mr. Gilbert has been over there several times to have conversations with him, but he may have further information that he would like to share.
Yes, we've met with them several times on the space. We're taking up 3 classrooms. It's roughly 2,400 square feet. The alternative ed program is moving to Rutland. So previously, they occupied the lower level, the entire lower level. Well, now Classic City will have the entire lower level turned back over to them. I know that we're going to meet with Foothills as well, because I believe they used several of those classrooms, so we'll make sure that we've got adequate space downstairs for their after-hours program to utilize as well.
Dr. Scott, do you have anything you want to share with the group? Okay.
Did that help at all? Oh,
Yes.
Dr. Gant.
Related to that, I know you mentioned that you had been there a few times and spoke with like the stakeholders and people there. Were there any alternatives discussed, like for the health center? Like, what other options were there for the 3 classrooms as far as where the health center can be placed?
The other area would be in their administrative office space, but as far as accessibility for early learning, it's the most direct route, the closest access to as those 3 classrooms on the end of the building. And it's really good because we can separate the clinic from the rest of Classic City by having it in those 3 classrooms. There's already an exterior door that comes into a storage room that we're gonna open up and convert to a reception area. And then we're gonna have a corridor that's inside those 3 classrooms that ties them all together. So they will literally be self-contained from Classic City or anybody else that's in that building. And it's kind of an ideal situation versus having somebody try to go to the main lobby vestibule, and then parking's a lot more restricted on that end as well. So I think when you add parking, access, service for ELC East, and their safety and accessibility, those are the primary rooms that we needed to select.
Are there any other questions?
I think I heard you answer my question, the question that I wanted to ask. On the 3rd floor, how do they get there from the ground level?
On the 2nd floor for Classic City?
For the health center, yes. What's the access?
They're on grade, so
They're on grade.
the parking area goes straight into the 2nd level. at Classic City, the lower level is kind of a basement, daylight basement area out the backside. And you wouldn't want to have to direct people down a set of flight of stairs to go to, clinic space downstairs, especially, younger children, so.
I'd like to tour that building.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't.
She wants
I,
to tour.
I would like to tour that building. I've been in a couple of times, but I want to see the building at some point.
Yes, at some point, Ms. Palmer will schedule a time where either myself or Mr. Gilbert will be glad to take you there. Mr. Denson, you would like to join as well?
Yeah, I think on that, I would really love the ability to tour this and to kind of see how Foothills is going to be moved and how the space is going to be kind of changed. And then similarly, I'd really appreciate a similar tour of Rutland about how that space is going to be utilized too.
We'll be glad to give you the tour, and as far as Foothills is concerned, it really doesn't interfere with Classic Cities because they're in the afternoons from 4 to whatever, so they have no interference with Classic City during the daytime. Okay.
Dr. Gant?
And just to clarify, Mr. Gilbert, you said that students won't necessarily, these 3 classrooms are already, they're open classrooms. They're not being used right now?
No, they're being used.
Oh, they are
yeah,
being
They
used.
are being
Okay.
used, yes.
Okay.
And to clarify, sorry, okay. And to clarify, so you said earlier that those 3 classrooms that are being used will be rerouted to the spaces that the
downstairs.
students that will go to Rutland will be moved to?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, right now,
Okay.
the alternative ed has the entire lower level, so it will be turned over to Classic City, and if we need to make some modifications, projectors, marker boards, which I think they already have, but we can modify the rooms on the lower level that if they need to be done after we're taking the space upstairs.
questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbreth. All right.
I would request that we vote on it separately, if that's okay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
absolutely. We will pull that from the agenda. Ms. Palmer, you've got that note. Thank you. All right. Next is item C, W.R. Coyle, Health Clinic Site Costs. Questions or objections? Okay. Item D, projectors for Cedar Shoals, AB Lower Wing, and Rutland. Questions, objections? All right. Ms. Davis, did you have a question or objection?
I do, and again, I think it's mostly Rutland. I'd love to have, again, a tour of that facility. I think you already asked for that. But also, I want to have a discussion about the plans for that facility. I know we got an email that described that. So is that going to be our discussion for?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I am interested more in a discussion of the use of Rutland and how we're going forward with that plan. And did we have a conversation about that already that I maybe missed or don't remember?
At some point, maybe within the past 2 months, I believe Dr. Scott has given the board an update on that at least twice. But Dr. Scott, would you be willing to give a further update on the Rutland? Thank you.
I'd like maybe to just have a conversation with someone, because this is not good for my hearing, and it's kind of frustrating for me, so.
Okay, we'll set aside a time maybe between the meetings that Dr. Scott could give you a further update for the Rutland usage.
That would be excellent, thank you, and I'm sorry to put you out, but yeah,
No.
tired of it.
Okay. Did you want to pull that item from the consent agenda, or did you want to keep it in?
If I read it, we're just putting in projectors, right?
Yes, correct.
Based on an anticipated use of them for
Correct, yes.
something in the future?
Yes.
So we approved the HVAC, so, the wiring, so yeah, I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, next up is item E, installation of LED lighting on all CCSD sports fields. I see a big thumbs up, and I see a hand raised. Mr. Denson?
Thank you. The only reason I wanted to keep this off consent is because I see that there is public comment on this item, and I would like to hear what the public comment is before considering that. So I'd like to
right.
keep it off consent.
Okay, totally fair. We will pull that item from consent agenda. Thank you. Next item is the propane contract. Questions, objections? Okay.
I just want clarification. Does this mean that our transportation fleet is going 100% propane? Is that what I read?
No, I'll let Dr. Askew answer that question.
Okay.
The question was, is our entire bus fleet going propane? The answer to that question is no.
Thank you.
So to clarify, the propane purchase is for existing buses that use propane?
Correct.
Not
We
for,
have to fuel them, just like the other buses.
Gotcha, okay. Did that help, Ms. Davis?
That's the strategic direction, is to go to propane? Are we going to bypass electric buses? What, is there a plan?
So I think that's a part of the work that the Sustainability Committee is doing, kind of trying to determine some recommendations for the board in terms of where we do want to go with the buses. But right now, it's just propane to fuel the buses we have.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions, comments, objections? Okay, propane contract will remain on the consent agenda. All right, moving forward to item G, March 21st, 2024, work session and board meeting minutes. Consent, awesome. Item H, personnel. Questions, consent? Okay. Item I, contract list. All right, consent. Item J, job descriptions. Consent or questions or objections? Dr. Yeager.
So I didn't see track changes on the document. I meant to ask a question, I forgot to put it in. Is this it says it's a major change or substantial revision to an already existing job description. Can we get some clarity on what's being changed about the position briefly?
Dr. Blankenship, will you answer Dr. Yeager's question, please?
I'm actually going to defer to Dr. Scott, since
Okay.
she worked on that very closely. So essentially, we're adding the PBIS coordinator work to the MTSS coordinator, and so that's the major change.
Other questions? I have one question. So with this job description, I noticed that there are a lot of responsibilities that sort of cross over from PBIS and MTSS, and it took me 3 years to learn these acronyms, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm still confused. Is the expectation that an employee with a bachelor's degree can fulfill all of those job descriptions with fidelity? And this is because I don't know. I just don't understand that field.
So when we're thinking about MTSS is a larger umbrella, and so the work of PBIS falls within MTSS. And so when we're thinking about that, then can it be done? Yes. Currently, we have someone that's doing it already. And this is just to shore up her actual job description. Okay. And so with that, then when we're thinking about the multi-tiered systems of support, then PBIS is just one of the pieces of that. But because it does come with its own level of certification from the state, then we wanted to make sure that we're clearly outlining the work that the MTSS coordinator does to support schools as they are working to get their PBIS certification.
Okay, thank you so much. Other questions? Dr. Gant?
I know that this is more so for the job description to put all of the pieces to the puzzle as far as support, with PBIS being like one aspect of that larger umbrella. And I guess I'm wondering, how might this person or this position help support where we may be going? I know we've talked a little bit about having future conversations around like the strategic direction with discipline. And so with PBIS being a part of that, and then like considering our discipline data and climate and culture, how might this person help even support, just the overall direction, or I hear the certification from the state, like there has to be someone to make sure that happens, but I'm curious if this person also provides support with any type of general discipline initiatives or directions.
So along those lines, recognizing that this particular position also supports along that, then that's why we move them from instructional services into student supports. And so they work closely with our director of school supports. They actually fall under the direction of our executive director of student and family supports now versus just the academic. And so it's looking at all of that. And so they do support that work as well.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Are there any other questions? Okay, would we like to remove this from consent or keep it? Keep it? Okay,
I would prefer to move it.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ms. Palmer, please remove that item from consent agenda. Okay, next up is, field trip, item K. Field trip approvals. Yes, big thumbs up, awesome. Item L, review and approve the Early Head Start Program Governance Plan, the Policy Council bylaws. All right. Ms. Davis?
I don't want to pull it from consent, but I do want to make note of a reference that you had for board docs. And if you could make that change to assembly, I think that would be more appropriate. I have it on a page somewhere. I might email it to you. Thanks.
Do you know?
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Any other questions? All right, that item shall remain on the consent agenda. Moving forward, item M, just words. Okay, consent. Ms. Davis?
Again, this is such a huge shift for us, is it not, in terms of our curriculum? Or is it's not a big deal? When I read it, it seems like it's a big shift and a change in how we're doing things.
It's a program that supplements wit and wisdom is how I read it, but maybe someone else has some other.
And I may have
And I think if
misunderstood.
you read in the board questions that I believe Ms. Heidi Hensley submitted a question concerning that as well this morning, and Dr. Scott gave a detailed, I thought, explanation towards that. That was submitted at 11:53. Dr. Scott answered it at about 1:52. So, but if, Dr. Scott, if you want to explain.
So I'm not really asking for the explanation now, but when we vote to approve this curriculum, I would like for it to be one of the things that the community hears about before we cast that vote. So I would not want to see this on consent, and I would actually like to see a small presentation on it when we do vote on it. Does that make sense?
A presentation
A
tonight?
presentation?
Tonight?
Yes. If not this week, certainly afterwards, so that, again, we're trying to engage parents and everybody in this whole learning process and the reading efforts, and I'm looking at ways to connect our community to what's actually happening in our classrooms, and I think to better understand this would be helpful. Now, again, this is
Might I
coming from me. I'm not an educator, so if it's inappropriate, then I certainly accept that.
I may recommend, Ms. Davis, to avoid surprising the district and asking them to prepare something in less than an hour,
Oh,
that
no, I wouldn't
perhaps
do that.
we can have some communication offline with Dr. Scott in her office and ask her to perhaps, through Dr. Hooker, prepare a short presentation for a future meeting.
That would be great.
Okay, so we'll take this offline and see what we can put together, but I would not recommend surprising them. I know personally I would not like to prepare a presentation before.
Totally not. I wouldn't ask
Yeah.
that either.
Okay, sounds fair.
Can I just give some clarification in an offline conversation with Dr. Moore? We're preparing a video about the literacy plan that we have, so that will be up and on the website, so we're working on that. Thank you for the reminder.
Great to have it on the website. Love to have it in the meetings.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Davis. Okay, so you wanted to pull that item so that it's voted on separately, correct? Okay, so we will pull item M. All right, item N, revised academic calendar for the school year 2024-25. Questions, objections? Dr. Gant?
I have a quick question. I noticed that with this is a calendar, right? Is it a calendar? Is there any way that for those employees that are more than, 180 or 190, so individuals that are working during the summer, I noticed that Juneteenth is not on there, or am I over? I know we didn't have it last year or this year, right? And there are half days anyway during the summer, but since the calendar is back before us, and I want to say that this question came up maybe last year or the year before as well. Is that something that can be considered?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken,
Or
we're
is it on there
scheduled-
already?
It's on there.
It's a national.
It is not
This-
on the academic calendar, but it is on the employee
work
calendar.
Okay, thank you.
And we did have it off this past year as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any other questions? We will keep it on the consent agenda, I'm seeing. Okay, perfect. And item O, student code of conduct. Keep? Objections, questions? Yes.
This question, was there any more public feedback? We put it out for another public comments.
I believe there were a few public comments. I'm looking at Ms. Barbazon because Emily is not here. Were there public comments? It was included?
It's included. There were no additional, there were no specific comments related to Spanish, but the updated list of comments is included there in the link.
Would you all like us to pull it so that you can review those comments during the break? Okay, we'll pull that item and the board members will review those comments during break. Okay, now we are on, so we've got the consent agenda set, correct, Ms. Palmer?
And Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I ask just go right back to the academic calendar? I just have a quick clarification question.
Okay.
I know that we have election day, or I think it's student planning, or teachers planning. We had a conversation with the Board of Elections maybe 2 years ago, and it was something that there was a follow-up that was supposed to happen. That doesn't change this, but it just made me think of it when I was double checking to be sure we had that day off. We were supposed to be talking about something to assure.
We've had, and correct me, Dr. Askew, if I'm incorrect, but we've had 2 meetings with the Board of Elections, with the principals of those schools that the elections are held on. So we've had 2 in-depth meetings with them to ensure for the safety of the kids, but to make sure we had everything, equipment and everything in place, all of that. So we worked very closely with them to ensure of that. We have an upcoming election, May 22nd, May something, I believe, and then the general election in November.
Okay,
So we've been in
perfect.
contact with them.
Thank you for that update.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions?
I just want to review what was pulled, just
Yes,
to
Ms.
make
Palmer.
sure. So I have item B, item E, item J, item N, item M, and item O.
That's what I have. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Palmer. Okay, we will move forward to item 8, policy updates. So there are several policies up for board review. And if you remember, these are the policies that we discussed during our March retreat. If you have questions or comments, you're welcome to voice them, but I remember us going pretty in-depth about these policies. Any questions, comments? Okay. All right, we will move over to item B, future policies for review from the board. Now, there's nothing posted, but I did want to remind you all that Ms. Hall did submit some recommendations for reviewing our tribunal process, and the district is still sort of looking through and seeing how they could present that to the board. So that is not in this meeting, but hopefully will be in May's meeting.
Yes, we can make that a part of May's meeting.
Okay. All right. Any other possible future? Yes, Dr. Gant.
Just a quick question with, I think at our last meeting, policy GBRH, with the leave, professional leave, it was mentioned that that would eventually come back to us, and there may have been some changes, some legislative changes, I think I recall us saying. Do we have an idea of when this particular policy may come back?
Yes, we are looking to see where that bill actually landed. And so hopefully in May, probably no later than June.
All right, so I will go ahead and earmark that as something that we can circle back to make sure it gets on one of the agendas in the next couple of months, if that works with you, Dr. Gant. Okay. All right. We will move forward to item 9, information items and board community reports. The first is the Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes and reports. Mr. Denson, do you have anything you want to add to the document?
Nothing to add. I mean, as I was looking through this, and I believe that from what I saw in the report, this was this does not include our most recent meeting. So yeah, this is going back, I believe, to February and January.
Yeah, they are always several
Yeah.
months behind because they have to get
So
their meetings approved.
it feels a little weird. I do definitely have some things I would want to discuss about the March meeting, but so I guess I will wait until, yeah.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Denson. We will move forward to item B, Athens Community Career Academy report. Any more information to provide to the board other than what's present? Questions?
I didn't see one.
Ms. Davis?
Is there a report?
Yes.
It didn't show up for me. Okay, I'll look again.
Are you able to view it if you click on the item? It shouldn't require logging in either.
It's okay. I actually did this the first day she put it out, and so I haven't gone back, so it may have been added since then. I see it now.
Okay. All right. Moving to.
May I ask a question about this? Dr. I noticed that we don't have a representation on this board at all. Is that by design, or?
Since the inception of the ACCA board, I have not known of board members to be a part of that. I would have to look back through their governance to see if that's a requirement or is necessary.
It seems
From
like
what I
there
remem-
was a board member at one time. I think this is a different,
I was on the
Wow.
board when it first initiated in 2011 with Judge Barron and the others. I do not recall a board member being on there during my tenure through 2016.
Yes, we actually had a conversation about this 3 years ago, and the decision was made that we would rotate board member meeting attendance because it's not in their bylaws that a board member of CCSD be in their governance team. But after, I think, 2 meetings, that sort of just kind of fell off. So if that is something that we would like to reintroduce into our practice, where we have a calendar of their meetings and we kind of rotate who attends, I mean, I'm happy to entertain that, and we can have a master document where some people sign up. We can do that.
I think we spend a lot of money, and if you look at the trajectory of education, right, we're going to be doing more with CTE stuff. And so I think it would be helpful, we don't have to vote or anything, but it would be helpful to have a board member there, so that way they can come back and we can report, because lots of times, you know, we don't get a presentation from the Career Academy. And you know, honestly, I don't know what's going on over there. And, you know, we vote on big bio labs and all sorts of stuff, and I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
So,
And I think in the past, we've had a joint meeting together, and this year it has not happened. And I'm wondering why that has fallen to the wayside, but Ms. Palmer.
I am in contact with Ms. Holliday, and we are trying to schedule something for May,
Okay.
before the May board meeting, before this work session, where they come here. Dinner's provided, but she hasn't gotten back with me yet.
Okay.
So I will ask Dr. Evans if he could take the lead on developing a document that has their meeting dates, and then circulate it to the board members, and then people can sign up for when they will attend the meetings.
if it's okay with you, Madam President,
Absolutely.
I would like to just take the lead on this and just go
Yep.
to there. since,
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Denson, did you have a question?
Yeah, I think I agree with Dr. Evans here that I think that the cycling situation is very complicated and seems to fall through the cracks a lot and not be very, very successful for us. So I think it'd be much more, even if it was just an appoint, like on the policy council for EHS, like, right? I mean, I'm a non-voting member who's simply appointed to that. I don't have any voting authority. I'm there to be able to witness it. And so, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to making that some kind of official thing, that we have just a non-voting ex officio member who goes there. But I do think it should be a set person, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Evans has offered to take the lead on this, and will attend those meetings for this year, for the remainder of this year. If this is something that we want to continue to do, we will keep it on our calendar so that we can decide who the next member will be to attend those meetings.
I like it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Let's make that an appointed duty of the vice president of the board.
It will be an official requirement of vice chair.
It's okay. My next recommendation is that the president of the board become a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and we pay for it.
We'll have some conversations about that offline. Thank you. Moving forward to.
You're going to have to be in these places of influence. Yes, absolutely.
Fair enough. All right, Community Oversight Committee report. Dr. Evans, would you like to provide any sort of additional?
Well, the district brought in close to $3 million from SPLOST. It was like 2.9 something or other. Mr. Galbraith has already come up and, gave the presentation that we saw at the COC meeting. Again, we encourage the citizenry to join that group. Just reach out to Mr. Sams. And we would love to have more people show up and have more voices in the conversation. It is really nice when you have a diverse group of people in there who, want to make sure that their district is getting what they need. So,
Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Yes, Dr. Gant.
These aren't really concerns, and I think they've come up in conversation, but I think at some point this is community oversight, right? Is that right?
Yes.
It does not seem, and I don't have the information to back this up, but like the members of the COC for the past however many years it's been in existence, there does not seem to be as much change. And while I know it's important to have people with like some in-depth knowledge or expertise, when I think of a oversight committee for SPLOST dollars, I think, especially since it just seems like it's going to be one that exists for school projects, I think I want to, well, first I want more information about how that membership has changed. I know we've had like maybe 1 or 2 new members within the past, at least, 2 years. So I don't want it to become something, I mean, it's sort of the same concerns when we talked about sustainability, right? I don't want it to become like this one committee. We don't have to worry about that as much for an ad hoc committee, but like this is the committee, right? That people and projects and permissions go through. And so I don't know where else to register those concerns, and I don't even know that they're valid concerns, but I would like to see if the board is supportive of that, the membership, what that has looked like, really since this committee has been in existence. It sort of feels like there's a core, and then maybe one or two may come every now and again. And I would love for that not to be the case, and maybe it's just my lack of knowledge about the committee itself.
And Dr. Gant, Mr. Gibbard and I can get with Mr. Sams, who's the president of that organization, to give you an overview of how many new members have come in, say, within the past 3 to 5 years, and how diversified that group is. So we will work on getting that information, and hopefully, if not sharing it, doing a board update, have a detailed thing for you by the next board meeting.
Yes, and it's not urgent. It's just like knowing that we're probably going to be voting on SPLOST,
Right.
maybe, for a while, or the people, the county people are. Just want to have a little bit more transparency forward-facing around that.
Thank you, Dr. Gant. Dr. Yeager?
I would just say, in my experience out, sitting on that committee last year, Mr. Sams at every single meeting asks for any new membership, anybody interested in the new members, and it's a hard committee to get people to join. So I think if you know someone who would be interested in serving on that committee, it's 100% chance of them getting on it. So I would just publicly encourage anyone who's interested in that process to join that committee. He's very open to it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Yeager. Ms. Davis?
So our attorney has explained this committee and its purpose and the fact that it came with the referendum to approve SPLOST. And so the guidance for the oversight is how the school system uses the SPLOST dollars. I'm nervous about us being on that committee since we shouldn't provide oversight of ourselves. So that's been my concern all along. How we work with that committee, because we learn a lot there, is critically important. So I would ask that we definitely engage our attorney in any conversation that we have around the COC and the SPLOST committee, because that, again, is the voters approved it and put the stipulations out there.
Dr. Evans?
We don't have a vote on that committee. Our job there is, partly ceremonial and partly to bring back questions and that the committee has about, maybe something. So far, in my experience with this committee, it's basically just been, hey, this is what we're doing, and there are a lot of citizens who've actually stepped up and are willing to help, because there are some things, like for instance, there's a chicken coop that has to get built, and this chicken coop looks better than my house. In fact, I'm thinking about seeing if I can get it for my brother, because it's really nice. But the cost came back at like $15,000 to build this thing, and so fortunately we have some people who are have building experience on this committee, and they are willing to step up and defray that cost. And so really we're just one organization that has representation, but we don't vote. Ourselves, Ms. Thornton from District 9 and Mayor Pro Tem is also a part of that committee as well. And then there's someone from the county government that is also on there. But again, the idea is that we go and listen to what the citizens have to say, and then we bring that back to you. That's really our role with that particular committee.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. Yes, Mr. Denson?
And actually, I wasn't aware that it was like an ongoing committee, and maybe something to consider is that I know for regular SPLOST and T-SPLOST committees, a new committee is appointed every time a new SPLOST is put in place, so that you're always getting kind of new perspectives and new blood in there. So yeah, it is a little odd if we've had people sitting on for what it sounds like many years. I don't know, yeah, I don't know, but something to consider though.
Okay. Is that, all right, thank you guys for your input on the Community Oversight Committee. Next up is item D, Sustainability Committee. Dr. Yeager?
Yes, thank you. So the Sustainability Committee met Tuesday night, but you can read the minutes from the March meeting. And the minutes from the March meeting include the priorities of all the different subcommittees, with the exception of the Green Committee, and that somehow theirs didn't end up in the minutes. I can get those to you later. Anyway, I just encourage you all to take a look at what we were encouraged to think big and think about what would we really love to see, and start working towards sifting down and prioritizing what we each want to see on each of the subcommittees. So I encourage you to take a look at those. Other news would be we had an incredible presentation by Cherry Street Energy, and lots of excitement and enthusiasm around that. They're really interested in education and partnering with schools and showing schools, instead of taking kids to the site, they're going to actually bring a trailer that they've designed for disaster situations that will generate power, and actually bring that to the school and let the kids build it, put it together, and then watch it work. So they're very excited about the opportunity of partnering with CCSD. And I provided the PowerPoint presentation to Dr. Hooker, but it's very exciting. So I hope, the committee hasn't made a recommendation yet, of course, but keep it in the pocket. I think it's pretty exciting what they offer. They also talked about the possibility of how do we want to proceed with all these federal grants, and there may be a recommendation sooner than later for hiring a grant writer, because we understood from Ms. Elder that all of the federal programs that she manages, her grants go straight through Georgia DOE and not to the feds. And so we don't really have anybody that knows how to put a federal grant, a big federal grant together that doesn't go through the state agencies. I didn't realize that. There was some work about the school bus grants, but I think they're not very involved, so I don't know exactly. We might have a grants.gov account through that, but I don't think we have anybody who's like a professional grant writer. So do we want to allow members of the community to kind of step forward and do that work for us, or do we want to have our own person who kind of knows the ropes? And I don't know, it just might be something to think about, is whether we want to maybe hire somebody to help us, because there is a lot of federal dollars out there. Mm-hmm. I think that's the main. We understood that the energy audit process is still ongoing. Mr. Gilbreth has a lot on his plate, and he said he was working on it, so hopefully that'll move forward soon. One thing that was interesting from the Cherry Street report was that he could do a lot of that for us, just by looking at the power bills. So,
Okay.
Any question? Mr. Denson was at the meeting. Maybe you have something to add?
The only other thing I would add is that we did vote to create one other new subcommittee, solid waste and composting, I think is what we called it. So, yeah, so there was a new one there. So.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Evans.
Dr. Yeager, would you mind sharing that PowerPoint with the rest of the board? So, because I'm very interested in this Cherry Hill group. So.
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
Just a quick question. When you all had a discussion with the Cherry Hill group, were there discussions about cost? Like what it costs to get this energy audit, what it costs to get a grant writer, what it costs to do some of these sort of high-end projects?
Yeah, well, so I think we assume that we're going to have to be self-funding and get the grants to do the work. I think the extraordinary thing about Cherry Street Energy is that you don't buy anything. They own everything. They maintain everything. They just install, and then we pay them for the power that's generated. It's a pretty interesting way to flip. And they only work with municipal systems. They don't work with private business. This deal that they have of building and creating is just a municipal and a government thing. So there's no cost up front to us at all. It's just we pay them instead of Georgia Power for the power. and they negotiate it after they look at our Georgia Power rate structure so that we save money. Kind of feels like a no-brainer, but I'm waiting to see the, the devil in the details, of course, and maybe we want to have them come and present something to the board at some point.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yeager.
Oh,
Ms. Davis?
would the school district be considered?
Ms. Davis, could you
entity?
speak into the
Yes,
mic?
Yeah,
school
I'm asking-
districts, school districts fall under, they've been working with one or two other school districts, and they consider school district municipal type situation, so very
Interesting.
exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yeager, for that report. And now we are moving on to item 10, executive session. It is 6:32. We will circle back here at 7 o'clock for our,
Advisory board report,
uh-oh, did I miss one?
advisory
Oh,
council.
no. I did, I missed E, I'm so sorry. Advisory board report, in there is the superintendent, student council, student committee. Did you want to report anything back?
Yes, we're fortunate tonight to have our students before us. We will have one student to give us an overview during the presentation. We had great time in meeting with them. I believe we met with them 4 or 5 times this school year. Very active group, not only at their schools, but they gave us some input on some things concerning the upcoming school year. And I believe, Ms. Palmer, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Ms. Bonez shared a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to send out tomorrow to the board concerning their work. Oh, it's going to be given today. Okay. All right. So looking forward to that today at 7. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hooker. All right, now we will move on to item 10, executive session. And we are going to move into executive session to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent. We're done. Do I?
So moved.
Oh, can I get a vote for going to executive session?
I'll make a motion that
A
we enter
motion?
executive session.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Denson, seconded by Dr. Gant. Can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will move into executive session. Thank you.
Testing, testing, testing. It's coming out. Testing, testing. Yeah, way better, yep. Just those two, yeah. What was that? Oh, do you want to swap places? It's working. Okay. Yeah, I'll go hook up the other one, or you want to hook it up since you're now stay? Yeah, I mean, but I still get mostly from these two. I'm not really getting much from that one. Testing, testing. Sounds fine to me, yeah. We may have to turn it down just a little bit for the corners, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, it still's coming through. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing. Ooh. Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. Go back up. It's still coming through. Actually, Alec, it's more focused here now. Yeah. Testing, testing, testing. Yeah, you're still coming through, so. Okay. So is there a DCA too, or a? That, yeah. So that's still going, that's it. Testing, 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 testing. Testing. No, that's good. Yeah, sure. Testing. It's going straight up to there.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to go ahead and call the April board meeting to order. Superintendent Hooker, would you like to do roll call?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley, Ms. Claudia Butts, Ms. Linda Davis, Dr. Patricia Yeager,
Here.
Mr. Tim Denton,
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson,
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant,
Here.
Ms. Nicole Hull, and Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum, so we can go ahead and move forward with item number 3, our silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able, can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, after which point we will have our silent meditation. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we'll take just a few moments for our silent meditation. All right, thank you. We will now move on to item number 4, which is our favorite, our awards and recognitions. Would Dr. Moore like to step forward to do our awards and recognitions? Thank you.
And thank you. I love being the favorite. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Hooker. Good evening, board members. We have quite a few more recognitions this evening as we wind down the school year, so we'll go ahead and get started with the first, our Employee of the Month. I'll ask at this time our Employee of the Month, Ms. Candida Chafin, to make her way to the stage. Ms. Chafin is a first grade teacher at Gaines Elementary School, in her 22nd year with CCSD and 5th with Gaines after spending her first 17 years at Whitehead Road Elementary. And is this your daughter? Your granddaughter. Hi. She was nominated by a fellow teacher, Gaines Media Specialist Ann Wise, who said, Ms. Chafin tirelessly puts forth every effort to make sure her students are making growth and will not only put every ounce of her heart and soul into her classroom, but also go out of her way to make sure those not in her classroom also feel the joy and dedication that she radiates. She writes, if you want a teacher who will tirelessly put forth every effort to make sure her students are making growth, look at Candida. If you're hoping for a teacher who will fiercely love each student who has the extreme good fortune to be on her roster, it's Candida. In any district, but in ours especially, it's vitally important for children to feel loved, valued, and important in school. Candida knows this and clearly makes it the center of her philosophy of teaching. Her students are loved first, and then they are taught. Her students feel safe, and then they can learn. I can think of countless times when I watched her go above and beyond for her students. When a lesson doesn't quite reach each student, she'll stay late revamping the next day's activities to ensure there's no learning lost or missed. In addition to the wisdom she's garnered over the years in education, she is consistently renewing her knowledge and adapting her classroom to fit new research and the learning styles of her students. When students present with challenging behaviors, she has a wealth of knowledge and experiences to help create plans to allow that child to learn. Candida's long list of parent requests for the child to be in her class and glowing evaluations from administrators speak to her obvious commitment to her work. Although Candida was not my mentor teacher my first year, she absolutely took me and my class under her wing to guide us through the year. At every turn, if I had a question about academics or behavior or social emotional skills, she was ready to listen and offer several strategies to try. Since gaining my footing within the educational world, I still go to Candida first with any need for advice. She understands and embraces that teaching is not just you in your classroom with your students. We are a community-based profession, and she embodies that. She is one of those teachers that students will always remember and look back on their year in her class fondly. She is one of those coworkers you can always depend on and turn to for help. She is an outstanding teacher. You have clearly made an impact. Please join me in congratulating our Employee of the Month, Candida Chafin, and thank you to Athens Area Chamber of Commerce for their continued support of this program. We'd like to present you. We'd like to present you with that token from members of our community who are as appreciative of you as we are. Thank you very much, and congratulations. As a reminder, anyone in the community may nominate, current full-time CCSD employees with at least one full year of service for this award. We have only one more award to give out this school year, so you still have time to get your nominations in. Next, tonight, we're going to be recognizing dozens of students who have been excelling both academically and athletically, starting with a very bright young man who you may have seen in our newsletter and on social media more than a time or two. Earlier this year, Clark Central High School junior Grayson Krause won first place in computer programming at the Skills USA State Leadership and Skills Conference. Grayson, if you'll join me on the stage, or not me, but come up to the stage. Let's give Grayson a hand. Skills USA is a national nonprofit that serves middle school, high school, and college, as well as post-secondary students preparing for careers in trade, technical, and skilled service occupations. It seeks to empower its members to become world-class workers, leaders, and responsible American citizens. As part of the competition, Grayson took part in project coding, output, a skills-related written test, and an interview. Grayson will now compete this summer in the national competition, which will be held in Atlanta. He is joined tonight by his advisor, Clark Central math teacher, John Walker. Please join me in congratulating Grayson and wishing him the best of luck at nationals. Congratulations, Grayson. Next tonight, we'd like to bring up Cedar Shoals High School sophomore Christopher Koch, who earlier this year, yep, you can clap for him, come on up. Earlier this year, Christopher won first place for the boys' 500-yard freestyle event for classes 4A and 5A in the GHSA Swimming and Diving State Championships. Christopher, who is joined by his coaches and family tonight, is an avid swimmer who, as his mother described, initially took after his big brother in playing soccer and basketball, but later discovered and fell in love with the sport of swimming at the YWCO summer camp here in Athens. After begging his mother, she signed him up with the Athens Bulldog Swim Club. While he spent 2 years refining his swim skills, his coaches were so impressed with his competitive spirit that they encouraged his mother to transition him to the competitive swim program. As his mother puts it, Christopher's passion for swimming was undeniable, and it was clear that he was destined to excel in the water. Christopher swum with the Cedar Shoals program since 7th grade when he was a member of the JV team. Along the way, he won 3 state titles with the Athens Bulldog Swim Club in the 1,000-yard freestyle, 500 freestyle, and 400 individual medley. And as a high school freshman, he was a state finalist who helped lead the Jaguars to a top 10 overall finish. This year, he more than accomplished his goal of getting on the podium by bringing home a state title, and still has 2 more years left of high school swimming with plans to continue pursuing the sport after high school. All this while, Christopher has remained humble and credits his coaches, current and former teammates, his family, and his friends with helping instill in him a strong work ethic and determination to excel not only in the pool, but also academically while balancing the rigors and demands of a full student schedule. Please join me in congratulating Christopher Coate. Next tonight, we would like to acknowledge a group of students from the Clark Central High School FFA Chapter's veterinary science teams who excelled in this year's FFA State Championships. In the Vet Science Career Development event, students demonstrate professional ethics, decision-making, communication, and problem-solving skills. They also demonstrate technical competency with small and large animals in the area of anatomy and physiology, clinical procedures, identification, health and safety, and medical terminology. Clark Central had 2 teams in the competition, and the senior team, consisting of 4 sophomores, won the state championship. Clark Central FFA advisor Levi Carr Brooks said this is the first team from Clark Central FFA chapter to ever win a state level CDE. Yeah. In addition to the senior team's state championship, Clark Central's junior team, consisting of 4 freshmen, finished 5th overall in the competition. So we'd like for the members of each team and Mr. Brooks to come forward as I call their names and receive certificates from for their achievements. Mr. Brooks, you can make your way up. And yeah. First up, we have Max Burnham, who also finished 1st individually in the competition. Quinn Pendley, who finished 2nd individually. Juliana Hardman. And Clarice Burrell. And now for our junior team members, Colin Boyle, Kendall Hunter, Kate Hinger, and Eudora Dawson. Now, if you'll look towards Mr. Thompson for a photo, Mr. Brooks, you get right there in the middle and look this way. Congratulations, and thank you for representing us so well. You may be seated. Next tonight, we'd like to recognize 41 of our middle school students who combined to win 22 medals and special awards in the Northeast Georgia Regional National History Day contest and qualified to advance to the state competition, which will be held next weekend at LaGrange College. National History Day is a nationwide nonprofit organization that operates an annual contest designed to engage students and enhance their research, literacy, and critical thinking skills through the discipline of history with a working theme. As part of the contest, students select a topic, decide whether to work individually or in a group, conduct research, analyze their findings, develop a thesis, and submit an entry in one of 5 categories: historical paper, website, documentary, exhibit, or performance. Students then present their project and defend their thesis before a panel of judges. So we're going to have our state qualifiers who are here with us tonight come up and accept their certificates as they stand on the stage for photos. Please come up as I call your name. Starting with our first place winners, we have Jay Braswell of Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School, who won. Jay won first place in the junior individual performance category and was named the overall junior division winner for Dear Mr. President. Next, we have Ariana Browner and Caden Jones, BHL Middle School, Junior Group Documentary. Amelia Aldridge, Ruby Nakasashi, Olive Forrester, and Gabriela Carcamo, BHL Middle, Junior Group Exhibit. Isabella Hammock, BHL Middle, Junior Individual Exhibit. Alan Madera, Hillsman Middle, Junior Individual Paper. Claire Salter, Courtney Munch, Jolie Garrett, and Emerson Dave Dufour, Hillsman Middle, Junior Group Performance. Tiger Tab, Jackson Rushing, Marlon McCraney, Joshua James, and Jonathan Carrillo Ramirez, BHL Middle, Junior Group Website. And Charlie Crawford, BHL Middle, Junior Individual Website. Now on to our second place winners. Abby Green and Nico Vick, Hillsman Middle, Junior Group Documentary. Stella Dawson, BHL Middle, Junior Individual Documentary. Kareem Lumpkin, Valeria Guerra Montiel, and Mary Jane Okoli, BHL Middle, Junior Group Exhibit. McKenna Kilpatrick, Clark Middle, Junior Individual Exhibit. Traylon Johnson, Hillsman Middle, Junior Individual Paper. Daniela Denmark, Damon Flint, and Jaden Stevens, Hillsman Middle, Junior Group Performance. And Jude Cranston, BHL Middle, Junior Individual Website. And for our third place winners, we had Reagan Watkins and Henry Ramirez, Hillsman Middle, third place Junior Group Exhibit, and these students also won the Southern History Award for their exhibit, The History of Black Education in Athens, Georgia. Estrella Garcia Rodriguez, Hillsman Middle, Junior Individual Exhibit. Senior Caro, BHL Middle, Junior Individual Paper. Opal Hensley Williams, Autumn Fairweather, Sage Dennison, Luca McDonald, Ryan Watkins, Hillsman Middle, Junior Group Performance. And Parker Armstrong, Hillsman Middle, Junior Individual Website. Please join me again in congratulating all of these talented students who represented our district so beautifully. Thank you. You may be seated. Next tonight, we'd like to recognize a special group of 11th and 12th grade students from Clark Central and Cedar Shoals who comprise this year's Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Each year, students are selected for the council following an application process in the fall. This school year's council members met 5 times throughout the year with Dr. Hooker to share their perspectives on what it means to be a CCSD student. They discussed ideas about how to improve school safety, increase youth development programming, and thoughts on how to improve the transition from 8th to 9th grade for all students. The council members also asked several questions and learned more about CCSD operations and policies, and we were grateful for their time and willingness to be honest and thoughtful in their discussions. An early congratulations to the seniors who will be graduating next month, and we look forward to continuing the council next year with both new and returning members. These students held their final meeting of the year earlier this evening, where they received certificates for their service. And at this time, we'd like to turn the microphone over briefly to one of those council members from Clark Central, Ms. Brooke Shepard, to say a few words. Ms. Shepard?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Brooke Shepard. I'm 18 years old, and I attend Clark Central High School. I graduate in May, and then I'll be attending Georgia State University in August. I've been on the Superintendent Council for 2 years, and during my time here, I've learned a lot about the Clark County School District and the superintendent's role in it. I feel like this has been a great opportunity to advocate for change for me, like that I've seen, but also my peers have seen. For example, Clark County's honor and AP courses, a lot of students who are not enrolled in honors courses feel as if they receive less care and support, and that's something as an honors student I wasn't aware of. So I really appreciated learning more about that. I also feel like this has been a great opportunity to meet students from Cedar Shoals, where I've been able to compare similarities and differences between our 2 schools. Overall, I'm very grateful to have had this experience. I think I've learned a lot about the inner workings of school districts, but also how to effectively and professionally advocate for change. I'm excited to see how this program will affect not only my future, but the future of the Clark County School District. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. And finally tonight, well, let me stop there and say we're going to have our council members come up in just a moment, and we'll take a picture with the board. But finally tonight, we have one final exciting announcement to share. So I'm going to ask Dr. Scott to come back over one more time, and I'm going to ask our board to go ahead and come out and just stand up here. It's a trick. Come on. At this time, we want to publicly congratulate Dr. Hooker, who was awarded the 2024 Georgia School Superintendents Association, GSSA, President's Award for Northeast Georgia RESA at the Spring Bootstrap Conference in Savannah this week. This prestigious honor is awarded to superintendents for outstanding leadership in their school system and community. Dr. Hooker was nominated by Lori Allen, Executive Director of our Northeast RESA. We'll have more information to share on this next week, but we knew he might not tell you, so we wanted to make sure we acknowledged him publicly. So Dr. Hooker, congratulations. And I'm going to ask the board and Dr. Hooker to stand there. We'll have the Student Advisory Council members come up. We'll take a picture with them and our board. And then I'm going to ask everybody to stay there, and any remaining students can come up, and we'll just get a big group picture all at one time. So Student Advisory, if you'll come up at this time. Just stand right in front of the board members there, kind of fill in the space. Now, board members, make sure we can still see you. So you may have to come in front. Some of you may need to come in front of our student. There we go. Dr. Anderson, I can't quite see you. There we go. So look here towards Mr. Thompson. Wait a minute. Yeah, all right. Okay, look over here and say, "We love Clark County." All right, stay right there, and then I'll ask all of our other students and their teachers to come up, and let's get a picture of everyone who was recognized this evening, please. So come on up. Just fill in right in front here. There's no right order. Good. Is that everybody? Yeah, you can kneel down in front if you like. That's a terrific, I can see why you're award winners. That was great, innovative thinking. Okay, look over here.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, congratulations again, and many thanks for your hard work. Dr. Hooker? That concludes our recognitions for this evening. I know I say it every month, but if you ever have any question about whether what you're doing is important, you just look at these students and look back at our pictures and you understand it is so important, and we are so proud of them. So I will now turn it back over to Dr. Anderson for any board recognitions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore. What an amazing group of CCSD students. If anyone else would like to file out, if you were here just for awards and recognitions, you are more than welcome to file out. You do not have to stay for the board meeting. All right, we will now move on to item number 5, public comment, and I'll just read a little blurb just to let everyone know what the rules of our public comment is, and then we've got a list here. According to policy BCBI, each individual speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak. At this point, remarks must be concluded. No speaker will indulge in personal attacks, and all comments are to be addressed directly to the Board of Education. To protect the privacy of students, speakers shall refrain from identifying specific students by name. No individual or group shall be retaliated against in any manner for speaking during public participation. Personal concerns may be addressed in writing to the superintendent and the president of the Board of Education. Written copies of comments may be provided to the board. At a board meeting, board members will not respond to questions or comments from the public. The district may respond to public input as needed or appropriately within 10 working days. The use of obscene, profane, vulgar, physically threatening, or abusive remarks will not be allowed. Loud and boisterous conduct or comments by speakers or members of the audience are not allowed. At this point, we'll open up the floor for public comment, and we have one person participating in our public comment, Josiah Smith. Mr. Smith, can you hold on for 1 second? Let's work on this mic.
Testing. There we go. Okay. All right. Well, good evening. Like I was saying, my name is Josiah Smith. I'm one of the local representatives for Musco Sports Lighting here in Georgia. And I understand your school district is getting ready to upgrade all of your athletic field lighting to LED, and even have a proposal on your school board agenda for approval tonight. But I would like to ask that you would consider receiving more than just that one proposal for these projects, and take the time to review a proposal from us as well. I believe we can provide much more value at even a better price than what you guys are currently considering. So at Musco, we've been designing, manufacturing, installing, and servicing sports lighting systems for almost 50 years. We have a team of over 1,700 people. We currently have thousands of fields under warranty worldwide and serve over 200 customers just in the state of Georgia alone, including school systems, universities, municipalities, and more. As the industry leader in sports lighting, there are many benefits we would offer Clark County School District as your lighting provider, but just given the limited time, I'm going to focus on just a few. So first, number one is light control. So making sure the fields are lit well without blinding spectators or lighting up the nearby homes is very important, especially with LEDs and how bright they are. Our LED system reduces glare by up to 90% compared to alternatives, and again, with LED, that's never been more important. Secondly, and this is probably the biggest reason why more school systems work with Musco than any lighting manufacturer, and that's our warranty and service. So since we manufacture our entire lighting system, we're able to guarantee it longer than anybody else. So our entire system that you'd receive at both of these schools comes with a comprehensive 25-year parts and labor warranty, meaning the school district maintenance costs for these lights will be $0 over the next 2.5 decades. That's tens and thousands of dollars of potential savings. The increase in cost of maintenance is one of the biggest issues in sports lighting today, and we will completely eliminate that for the school district for the next 25 years. And then lastly is just our experience. Like I said, no other manufacturer designs, builds, installs, and maintains more sports lighting systems than Musco, and we bring that experience in every project. So these are just a handful of reasons I believe Musco would provide the best sports lighting solution for Clark County School District. Again, we can provide the best value at a very, very competitive price. And so I would just ask again that you would consider reviewing a proposal from us before moving forward. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was our only public speaker. So we will now move forward to item number 6, to amend or adopt the agenda. Would anyone like to
Make a
call?
motion that we accept the agenda as written.
Second.
All right, that motion was made by Dr. Evans, seconded by Mr. Denson. Can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion has been approved. We will move forward to item number 7, the superintendent's report. Dr. Hooker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This month, we will recognize the following things. As many of you know, this month is Autism Awareness Month. It's also School Library Month. Assistant Principals Week was recognized during our spring break, and we do want to thank them for their service. I appreciate our PR department placing stuff on our website, thanking them for the work that they do. Also, Exceptional Children's Week is April the 15th through the 19th. Public Schools Volunteer Week is April the 21st through the 25th. Paraprofessional Appreciation Day was April the 2nd during our spring break. Administrative Professionals Day will be April the 23rd. I also would like to thank the Superintendent's Advisory Group for all their hard work this year. They have done an outstanding job, and we look forward to continuing our conversations with them next year. Congratulations are in order to all of our students and their advisors who were recognized tonight. Our students continue to represent us well across the state. Congratulations to Ms. Candia Chaffin, our first grade teacher at Gaines, for being recognized as April's Employee of the Month. And last, I'd like to recognize Dr. Gant for being part of Lennonstown Musical that took place today. We sent several of our students from our secondary schools. Not only is she a part of that musical, but we have several students and several teachers and staff members who are participating in that as well. I encourage you to go. I believe tomorrow is at 7 o'clock or 6? 7:30. Invite you to come out and watch such a wonderful play that was written by a local here, and so invite you to come out and support that effort. Thank you. That concludes my announcements for today.
Thank you, Dr. Herkin. I believe there's a Sunday 3 p.m. show as well, so 2 opportunities to go.
That's right, Sunday at 3 and written by Ms. Hattie Whitehead, directed by Dr. Giles.
Wow, so excited about that. All right, thank you, Dr. Hooker. We will move forward to our consent agenda that was discussed and determined at our work session from 5 to 6:30 this evening. So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Okay, that motion was made by Mr. Davis and seconded by Dr. Yeager. And can I get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion is approved. All items on the consent agenda will move forward. We will now move to action items for individual vote. Our first is item A, the financial report. I'm opening up the floor for any questions, comments, or concerns. I need a motion first. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve or accept the financial report?
Okay. All right, that motion is made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Butts, and now we shall open up the floor for discussion. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. I believe the member who asked for this item to be pulled is not at our regular meeting, so assuming all's well, we will go ahead and make a vote. All in favor of approving financial report?
Aye.
Okay. All right. That motion is approved, and we will now move forward to item B, installation of LED lighting on all CCSD sports fields. Can I get a motion?
I will make a motion for us to table this item.
Would someone like to second that motion or substitute motion?
I'll second that. I do have just a few follow-up questions that are new questions.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor now to table this item and by Mr. Denson and a second by Dr. Gant. We will now open up the floor for discussion. Mr. Denson, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I do have just some questions for staff. Was this contract opened up for request for proposals, or was this a closed bid?
So because they're both, there were two vendors that were considered, and they're both under the Sourcewell contract, so there's no bid process required by law. Something that I'd also like to note about the vendor that spoke tonight, we pursued him for over a month, requesting a quote, essentially to make a large purchase, $1 million, to give him $1 million, and he was non-responsive. If that's the pre-sale treatment, what's it gonna be like once he's got our $1 million in hand? Just something to consider. Also, we have a master service agreement with Georgia Power. in terms of our lighting and power service across the district. They've been a great partner with us for many years. Also, I'll note Georgia Power is headquartered here in Georgia. Our local representative, Nathan Bartlett, the district can contact him at any time. He's always available and is very responsive. Musco is headquartered in Iowa. And then when you talk about cost, both of the proposals, Georgia Power came in at 1.2848. Musco came in at 1.184,685. That's a difference of $16,163. With a purchase this large, I just don't think it would be prudent to compromise on the service and the quality that we would get from Georgia Power for what amounts to pennies.
Okay, any other questions?
I guess this, my comments would be like, I usually think if we're, one of our jobs is to be, the kind of to watch out and make sure that the public dollar is being spent responsibly and used as efficiently as possible for the educators, students, and such. Not to say anything about, I don't know anything specific about these vendors here and such, but I think oftentimes when we have a competitive bid process, we end up getting a better price quite often. And so I know we've talked about revisiting our procurement policies, getting away from some of these long, multi-year contracts, which is what I see on this one is a 3-year contract. I still think it might be prudent for us to go ahead and table this and have this be a competitive bid.
Thank you, Mr. Denson. Any other questions or comments to add to Dr. Gant?
Yeah, I'll just add to that, and I'm sort of thinking as I'm going here, but I think I made the assumption that there was an RFP put out, and I probably shouldn't have because I didn't see the RFP information. And so with that additional information, I think that's helpful. Just a little more information, and I think a little more time. Although we're not required by law to do an RFP, I do think when we're talking about $1 million, that just what do we want to stand for as far as our processes that are in place. And regarding the partnership with Georgia Power, there are other power companies in Georgia as well. And so it's not necessarily just for this, for this information, but I wonder where does that place them as far as a fair and equitable chance to be able to at least submit a bid and then have the district make a recommendation. So I am supporting the motion to table it, even if it's until, I don't know, I do also respect that schools probably have their deadlines as well, so we probably want to be sensitive to that, and as many things are happening in our stadium, and I think Dr. Hooker, you may be able to speak to more of the activities and things like that, but I would like to, I think as a matter of governance and being stewards, I would like to talk a little bit more, even if it's not possible for an RFP. RFP would certainly be ideal. And in the future, I think it could be prudent for when contracts are this large, if there has not been an RFP, I know I sort of made the assumption that they had, but I think clear communication around the fact that this was a particular bid, I think that would be helpful as we prepare for the meeting, so we will know what went out for RFP and what did not.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gant. Does anyone else want to weigh in? Yes, Dr. Yeager.
I'm concerned that a delay would prevent us from installing these during the time that we have to install them this summer, which is the only time we have. So, Dr. Askew, can you address if we delay this a month, is that going to put us behind a full year?
That's correct, because by the time we would get it back to the board, and again, not trying to rush the board to a decision, obviously, But by the time we get it back to the board, whoever the vendor might be is still going to have other schools lined up in front of us, and then it'll be football season. We can't do it then. Then it'll be wintertime. So you get football installed, but you can't do softball and baseball during that time because they kind of start in late winter. Well, baseball does in late February. Softball is a fall sport in Georgia. But at any rate, it would be next late spring or summer before we could get them in. That's exactly right.
Could you clarify what order do you, if you know what order we are on this vendor, this current vendor's list to move forward with this project?
So in talks with Nathan, he's assured us that if it were approved expediently this month, and again, not trying to rush you guys to a decision, that he could have it in, I think he said in 4 to 6 weeks, which would put us at a June install. It's just waiting on the equipment to be delivered. And then the install goes pretty quick. It's less than a week to get them up.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Butts, Dr. Evans? Okay, Dr. Evans?
Dr. Askew, is this a critical need? Is this something that has to be done right now?
So there's a couple of factors to consider. The current lights that we have, which are metal halide, and federal law has changed around light bulbs, which is the reason why even when you go in the grocery store now or you go to Walmart, you can only really purchase the LED bulbs. So the type of bulbs that we have right now, it's cost prohibitive to replace them. We had a replacement this year. We got 10, and it was very hard for Mark to locate them. It took us about 2 months for him to get them. But long story short, with that, that was an $11,000 purchase, and the bulbs are nearing end of life, and also because they've got some trace mercury in them, for the technicians who have to work on them and remove them and replace them, there is that health hazard as well. So those are some of the critical factors. Now, can we still continue to use the lights? Sure, absolutely. As they go out, though, just be aware, it's more and more difficult because those lights have gone out of production to secure them. And if we do, it's going to come at a heavy price. The LED lights, that's the state of the industry right now. Across our state and across, the country, that's pretty much what everybody's converting to. The energy savings, it's in the proposal. You see it there, what we're going to save, how much more energy efficient they are, and what it will save us monthly on the power bill. Again, not trying to rush you to a decision. You certainly could put out for RFP, but I can tell you when it comes back and we go through the process, it's still going to be $1 million. That's about where we're going to be at.
Okay, I see no hands for further comment, so I would like to, Dr. Gant?
Just one quick comment before we take a vote. I think so this is one of a few things that sort of comes, there's this urgency, and then the urgency becomes the board's urgency. And so I just want to try to, have a friendly reminder that we think we've had this before with the code of conduct, with construction contracts, with the cell phone towers, that when there are things that we are going to be pressed to take action on, and certainly, the health hazards really is what sticks out to me. It would really request that we have enough time and that we have enough information so that urgency and time crunch doesn't add that extra urgency for us. So.
All right, thank you for that comment, Dr. Gant. I will now open up the floor for a vote for Mr. Denson's motion to table this item for, do you have a specific timeline, Mr. Denson, that you would like to propose? A month to our next meeting? Okay. Table this item until our May.
Well, yeah, I would suggest a month, but if that is able to be done with our procurement policy. But yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's the motion that's on the floor. Let's go ahead and call for vote. All in favor of tabling this item for 1 month, please raise your hand. Okay. All right. And all in favor of moving forward with the item to purchase, to install the installation of LED lighting on all CCSD sports fields? All in favor of,
Would be,
wait,
it'd be,
all,
we're against.
all
Against
who are in
tabling.
favor of not tabling this item for future discussion? All in favor? Okay. So that is an even split. That motion has been not approved. So now we will move forward with potentially a new motion. Would anyone like to put a new motion on the floor?
I move that we accept this proposal.
Okay? All in,
Second.
thank you. Dr. Yeager has moved to approve the installation of the LED lights, and Dr. Evans has seconded. All in favor of installation of LED lights?
Aye.
And all opposed? Okay, so it's an even split, so that motion does not pass. Okay, so assume that motion did not pass, so now it will have to move to the May agenda. And I don't know what the decision of the district will be on opening up for an RFP or putting this on the agenda next month as is. I will leave that decision up to you all. And Dr. Hooker, if you would like to reach out to the members who are asking for a difference in this procedure and then move forward based on y'all's discussion, that would be wonderful.
Great, we'll work through this and get back with you next month. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we will now move forward to item C, the adoption of Just Words. Or the purchase of Just Words literacy program.
I motion that we purchase Just Words.
Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Dr. Evans and a second by Dr. Gant. I would like to get a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passed. We will move forward with item D, job descriptions. And this is the description for PBIS MTSS coordinator or director. Can I get a motion?
I motion that we accept item D.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
All right, that motion is made by Ms. Butts and seconded by Dr. Gant. Let's get a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All, so everyone's in favor? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That motion passes unanimously. Let's move forward to item E, Student Code of Conduct. So I know that we were going to take some time to read the additional public comment that was made during our break, but I do not think we had that opportunity. So is there a motion to table this? What would you like to do to move forward?
Make a motion that we accept the Student Code of Conduct as written.
Okay. Okay. I need a second. Okay, that's.
Second, and I have a clarification.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion on the floor, open for discussion. Dr. Evans, would you like to start?
I'll defer to Dr. Gant.
Okay, Dr. Gant?
So two quick things. One is when I mentioned, and when I was talking about LED lighting, I also referenced the code of conduct. Let me clarify that. I think we've done an excellent job with our code of conduct, and I do want to sort of take that back. I was talking about years ago. Dr. Scott and your team, I've also, it leads to my second comment, really appreciate, I know that there's a lot of work that still needs to be done as far as like a strategic direction for discipline, but I think all of us, or at least I have received a lot of the communication, like the surveys, or the asking for feedback from the public, and that to me, you know, that's important. And so I do want to say, just publicly say, I appreciate Dr. Hooker and Dr. Scott and your teams for really prioritizing that and getting feedback.
Thank you, Dr. Gant. Any other comments? Yes, Dr. Yeager?
I was just going to say, I did get a chance to look through some of the comments, and there's some substantive comments in there, and I guess I would just like us to continue to consider responding to those comments in our next addition. There are, I mean, there's some really good points, and I know we're about to go into a more bigger picture discipline discussion. I hope we do that, because there are definitely some issues with our current code of conduct that people have brought up, and it looks like even teachers and people in the district are commenting, saying it's not working. So I would really like us to do a little rethink before the next one.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Yeager. Yes, Mr. Denson?
Thank you. My one question, and I know this got brought up last time, but is the necessity for us to remove the section on trauma-informed discipline. I mean, during the board comments last month, that was brought up by multiple school board members as this important part, even though I understand that it is, as it's put here, a bit of a belief statement. I think it's an important one. And I think it's probably important to more than just us, but also probably to parents and teachers and students. And so I guess I would like, maybe if the administration could explain the need for us to delete that was a very small paragraph.
Okay.
Would you like for us to respond to that? Are you asking for a response to that, sir?
Yes, sir, yeah.
All right, Dr. Scott.
So essentially, what the committee decided was to make sure that as we're moving forward with anything related to belief statements and things, that it's coming specifically from the strategic plan. And so what they've replaced it with are those that came from the strategic plan. And so they struck through anything that would have been more of belief statements or opinions versus what's specifically agreed upon within our strategic plan.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Scott. Any additional comments, Ms. Butts? Dr. Evans, I don't know if you've said, okay. All right, so there is a motion on the floor to vote to approve the student code of conduct. I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the student code of conduct, please raise your hand. All right, thank you. That motion passes unanimously. Let's move forward with item F, Classic City Health Clinic construction. Can someone put a motion on the floor?
I move that we approve the health clinic construction at Classic City.
I need a second. Thank you. That motion is made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Butts. The floor is open for discussion, questions, clarification.
I have one concern.
Yes, Dr. Evans?
And my one concern is that in the bottom floor there is no natural light. And, that could be a tough place to teach and learn. I understand everything, but if we could address maybe finding a solution for that, maybe, talk to Mr. Galbraith and see if there's something that we could do. I think that would be beneficial for the students and the faculty there at that school. But other than that, I plan on voting to approve.
Thank you for those comments, Dr. Evans. Are there any other questions, points of clarity? Yes, Dr. Gant.
For me, definitely support the partnership with the health clinic being there and access for all students. So I love the location. I would love to hear more from, quite frankly, the students, the teachers that will have to teach on the bottom floor, the LSGT, the leadership there, just as far as how they make that transition. So I'm not opposed at all to the health center being there, but aesthetically, it just sort of looks like, you're taking the students that are there and putting them on the bottom floor. And I know that is an oversimplification, but I would like to hear just a little bit more about, just their feedback and their perspectives.
Okay.
Just wanted to give some context for however I vote So, yeah.
So I will ask, Dr. Hooker, do you have any sort of feedback that you all have gathered from stakeholders?
And I'll speak on what I know, and then I'll turn this over to Dr. Scott, because this is her department. But I rest assured that the administration and the team was spoken to about this before we even started. This is a grant. We have to get started on this because it runs out, I believe, October, and it takes a while to get these things in place and getting the but the building materials and all of that's necessary. But I will let Dr. Scott speak further to the communication with the staff and the others involved.
So in reference to the staff's concerns, then this was shared as far as the opportunities to walk the building, to talk about what would be the most appropriate place. Then they did express that there was a concern around having to move some of their classrooms downstairs. So with that being said, it does not take all of their classroom space upstairs. There will still be classroom space upstairs, but the students will also have to do some classes downstairs in those classrooms that were previously used by the CCSD Learning Center. And so within that building, there is one side of classrooms that do have windows on it. The other side of the hallway does not. And so I think it's just working with them to ensure that as they're thinking about how they create a space, if you've been, well, I know you have not been down there recently, but there are murals on the wall downstairs and signage and things, but ensuring that it's creating a space that is welcoming, that's warm, that's conducive to teaching and to learning. So similar to what we may have seen like in Oglethorpe Avenue Elementary, if you've been there, then you know they have a downstairs as well. So their main floor takes you right there on what would be considered their second floor, and then they have the basement. The same is true for Barrow Elementary. And so it's about creating that space, and so we are welcome and open to working with the staff there to ensure that they do have the resources and the support needed to make sure that that space does create a warm and welcoming learning environment for the students.
Okay, Dr. Evans.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. That is exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much.
And I'd just like to ask one quick question before we do vote. Is there an alternative space in the bottom floor where the health center could have been, but the decision was made to not do it for reason A, B, or C? Just curious.
Right. So really and truly, it's about accessibility, because with that bottom floor, then they would still have to come into that main building, as Mr. Gilbert shared, and check in and then make their way. So with the way that the health centers are organized, and it is recommended and is best practice to ensure that it does not create a space where those who are coming to the health center have to be a part of the school building. And so having it upstairs in this space where there is already that exterior door to be able to access makes it accessible for the public and others on that campus, including those at ACCA as well as the Office of Early Learning. So that building to be able to easily access, as well as if there are others, parents and families that are coming to access the health center, they don't have to come into the school building to do so. They can do that by accessing it directly from the parking lot. So similar to what we see at the Hillsman Center as well as Clark Middle, that there is an exterior access without having to be within the school building. And that just helps with safety.
Yeah, and I see a space where HIPAA compliance would also come into play with health records and health information and that sort of, okay, thank you so much for that clarification. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Dr. Yeager?
Just a quick question. So there's stair access, external stair access. Will there also be an elevator?
So there's already an elevator in the building in Classic City.
So anyone going to the health center and
No.
needing an elevator would have to go through?
No, they don't need an elevator to get to, it's off of the parking lot.
Oh, I
So
thought
where they're
there's-
looking to put it right now, there's no need to go up or down. If we were to put it downstairs, then they would have to be able to access the
Oh, I
building.
see. I see the stairwell, but obviously I haven't been there, so I need to go visit. But it looked like you had to go upstairs to get to that level, but you don't.
No.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. There is a motion on the floor, so I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the Classic City Health Clinic construction, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is passed unanimously, and we will move forward with our last item, G, Personnel Board Addendum. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Personnel Board addendum.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Denson has moved to approve the Personnel Board Addendum, seconded by Dr. Yeager. Are there any comments? No. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion has been approved unanimously. And now we will move to item 10, to adjourn. All right, motion made by Mr. Denson, seconded by Ms. Butts. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.